everyone. We're going to get started. My name is Lynn Shea, and I'm a professor in the Liberal Studies Department. And I also coordinate the Academic Speaker Series, and this is our fourth.
Lynn, it's very hard to hear you. I wonder if you can use the mic.
I don't think the mic's on. I'll just speak louder. So, welcome to the fourth event in the Academic Speaker Series. I would like to just request that everyone, if you have a cell phone, just please put it on mute right now, so we don't have any distractions, and please also silence your laptops as well. So to get us started, Peter Eden, the president of the college, will introduce our speaker today. Peter.
Thank you, Professor Shea. I'm going to read straight from the bio that I was given for Chief Norma Hardy from the Brattleboro Police Department. We're so happy that you're joining us on this day in particular with the great programs that we've had all day. It's been wonderful. So correct me if there's any mistakes on this bio, okay? So here we go. Pretty impressive. Norma Hardy was a member of the 42nd S&T Battalion, New York Army National Guard from 1986 to 1994. She worked for NYC EMS from 86 to 92 when she joined the Port Authority Police Department. She was in the World Trade Center in 93 when a bomb exploded during the first terrorist attacks and was awarded the Port Authority Medal of Valor. On September 11, 2001, she responded to the World Trade Center from home. The Port Authority Police Department lost 37 officers that day in the attack. Hardy was the first woman to reach the rank of chief at the Port Authority in 2013. She then retired with 26 years of service in 2018, yet there's a gap in this thing here, there's a gap. In 2018 she retired, but in 21 she became the first black woman to be made police chief in the state of Vermont.
Wow.
Yeah. It says this event is being held exclusively for the Landmark College community, but are we filming it too for the outside world?
Yes.
We're so happy to see Chief Norma Hardy here. Come on up. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So I was thinking what I would talk about today, and I just want to talk about, especially with you guys and gals being in college and trying to make your way in the world and trying to decide, what you want to do throughout the rest of your life, and all of the scary moments that you have to deal with when you're having to deal with things in everyday life. So I thought me talking about one of my scariest moments would kind of be a good point to talk to you about, especially because I have been in law enforcement, I have been a police officer, and throughout to being a chief. So I've dedicated over 30 years of my life to public service and serving communities and different municipalities and basically just serving people. So, I know that most people know September 11th, right? Most people talk about September 11th. Even if you weren't born on September 11th, every year something reminds you of September 11th, right? Okay, so you know what happened on September 11th. The airplanes came and they crashed into the buildings fell, and people unfortunately perished, right? Okay, so even though I was there, I responded there to that horrible day on September 11th, what I like to talk about is what happened before September 11th. Do I see a hand? Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to answer that, but
Go ahead.
So before 9/11, there was unfortunately a first attack in '93.
Right.
I'll let if you look more on that, you can definitely explain. I don't want to steal your spotlight.
Right. I'm going to explain it now? Oh, okay, so I can talk about it? Okay. All right, so that's exactly right. Before 9/11, there was an attack at the same buildings, which were the World Trade Center. So let me tell you about the World Trade Center first of all, so you have an idea. Because the World Trade Center you'll see now is not the World Trade Center the way it was back then. The World Trade Center was 2 buildings that everyone knew, and those were the 2 tallest buildings, okay, that they could be. There's 110-story buildings, Building 1 and Building 2. But the World Trade Center was actually 7 buildings. Everyone always talked about Building 1 and Building 2, but there were actually 7 buildings. All right, World Trade Center 4, 3, 2, 7. So that was the whole complex on 16 acres in downtown Manhattan. So in 1993, I had just gotten out of the police academy. I only had been out of the academy maybe 14, 16 weeks. Brand new officer, and my job was to patrol throughout that complex. So I patrolled the World Trade Center complex, and that was my job. So on this day in 1993, February 26th, 1993, I was patrolling, I was walking around with my friend, my buddy, and we actually planned to meet for lunch. Because after you could patrol, you do your patrol, that's your job, and you get a lunch break. So we had planned to meet up for lunch together. And it was actually my niece's birthday that day. So I was excited because she was turning 5, and I was going to take her out, and we were going to have a girls' day out, all right, because she was going to be 5 years old. So that was my plans for the day. So just like you do, you get up, you make your plans for the day, and you think that's the way your day's going to go. So we're walking around, and I'm doing my plans, saying hi to people, checking all my posts inside of the building. And we had on a radio call, and it was another officer that was asking us for assistance. Another officer was asking for help because there was a huge fight. There were a bunch of people fighting on the train platform that was at the bottom of the Trade Center building. You had the PATH train station, and there was a fight. A bunch of young people decided they were going to fight. So the officer called for help, and a bunch of us ran to help him out. So we got everybody separated, and then we had kids that actually were supposed to be in school, because that was a Tuesday, and they were supposed to be in school. So we said, okay, you know what? We have to call your parents. We can't just let you go now. We have to call your parents, let them know you're not in school. So that's what we did. We had 7 of the kids. They came with us downstairs, and we separated all the kids that wanted to fight with each other, had them separated, and we were in a room a little smaller than this, and we were calling parents. So there was myself and 2 other officers were sitting there calling parents to tell them that we had their kids and ask them what they wanted us to do with them. As we're talking, and I was on the phone, so if you can imagine, I was sitting at a desk, so I was here on the phone. My other officer was at the second desk, and there was another officer that was over here, and what he was doing is he just was basically hanging out and rocking his chair back. So as I'm on the phone, I heard what sounded like a pop. It sounded just like a pop, just like that. Not a boom, nothing like you see on TV, where you get this big boom, and nothing like that. It was a pop, and the whole room shook, and smoke started coming in, and the lights started to get dim. The officer that was sitting on the chair, he flew off his chair and fell down. So remember, I'm brand new. And these were senior officers, but I was brand new. So I said, what was that? And the officer that fell said, that's a bomb. That's a bomb, and we have to get out of here. So automatically, the panic in me set in. The panic that I felt in a building, in this room, with a bunch of people, and telling me this is a bomb. So now the idea was for us to leave the room. But of course, we have to take all of the young people that were with us. So the officer said, go try the door. So I said, okay, I'll go try the door. So I tried the door, it wouldn't open. Now, if you're talking about being afraid and panic, absolute panic now, because I'm trying to open a door that won't open. And as we're doing all of this, the smoke is getting thicker. The kids are starting to cry now, because now they're panicking. So they're yelling at us to get them out of there, get them out of there. And I'm trying to think, what am I supposed to do? While the other officer is like, okay, Norma, go try the back door. So I said, okay, I'll go try the back door. So I opened the back door, it opened, but that door didn't go outside. That door went into a long hallway. And down the long hallway, as I looked around the door, I saw a big, billowing black cloud of smoke coming my way. As I looked to my right, I saw a door, and I could hear people behind the door saying, help, help us, help us. So I came back in and I said to the officer, okay, I think we can go this way. So he said, well, we have to go this way. We can't get this other door open. So we decided to go out that door. And by this time, all of the smoke had come to where our entrance of our door was. So we couldn't see and we couldn't breathe. And the young people that were with us started to panic more and cry and yell that we're all going to die. And they were panicked. Now, mind you, I was brand new. So inside, I was panicking. I was more afraid probably than they were. But because I had on the uniform and they were looking for me and my coworkers to get them out of this situation. So I couldn't act like I was afraid, but I was just as afraid as they were. I wanted to cry and panic and tell, get us out of here and everything else also. But I couldn't do that. So we went through the door, and as we opened the door, people were yelling, help us, help us, help us get out of here. And there were people, it seemed everywhere, because I couldn't really see. But I kept hearing a lot of voices telling me to help them. So I kept saying, come with me, come with me. So as we're walking now, it's the 3 of us officers, it's the 7 kids we had with us. And as we're walking, people started to come from under tables and come from under desks and come out into where we were trying to find our way out of this situation. And so the people just followed us out. But once we got out the other door, we weren't outside. We were just on a big, a floor that was inside of the World Trade Center that was just another level. We still hadn't made our way outside. So that was what our struggle was throughout that time, is to find our way outside. So if you can just imagine, you're in almost total darkness. You hear people yelling and screaming from everywhere. You can tell that there are people all around you on the floor, but you really can't see how to help them, and you're trying to also figure out how to get the people that are counting on you now out of the building. So that was our dilemma. We couldn't hear what was going on. We didn't know what was going on because we couldn't hear anything. So only thing that I had to concentrate on is, how do I get myself out, but also how do I get everyone else out of the building? So it took a while of us walking, and as we're walking, telling people, come with us, come with us. And you had people that were panicking and running. So those people were panicking and running, and they were running in the wrong direction. So I could kind of sort of remember that when I came to work, I drove in a certain way and I parked my car in a certain place. So in my head, I'm thinking, if I can remember where I parked my car, I came in from the outside, I'll be able to get back outside. So that's the logic that I use to keep me moving and keeping people, come with me, I'm gonna get you out of here.
Very smart.
Thank you. So after that, the officers that I was with, we all got separated because, like I said, it was total darkness, smoke so you couldn't breathe, trying to keep track of the 7 kids, trying to keep track of most of the people that were surrounding me. I just started walking. So I walked I went to where I knew the parking lot was. I got to the parking lot, and it was a parking garage. It wasn't a lot, it wasn't outside, it was a parking garage that was actually 6 floors down into the earth. So it was an underground garage. So we got into the garage from the inside of the building, and people were trying to drive their cars out, but of course they were crashing into each other because it was total darkness. So we had cars crashing. We had people laying on the ground all around us. We had people screaming, and we had people that were looking for guidance from us. So here's the time that my fear, I had to pat it down and say, I'm a police officer, and these people are counting on me to get them out of this building. So I had to stop for a moment, and I had to give myself tunnel vision, so to speak, just not to hear the noise that was going on around me. Because when you have a lot of noise going on around you, it adds to your panic and your fear, because now you're like, what do I do? What do I do? So that was me. What do I do? So I took a moment, closed my eyes, and thought, how do I drive into this garage every single morning? What direction do I come in this garage? So once I stood there and I was able to figure that out, I was able to think which way to walk. So what we did, I said, come with me. We walked up a ramp, we made a left turn, and we were outside. And all those people came with me. They all got outside and they all ran in different directions. So we got outside. I was able to get as many people as I could with me outside, right? Some say 30, it's grown to 50. I really don't know. I'm just happy that I was able to get as many people out of the building as I could. But that wasn't the end of my day. I couldn't go home. I couldn't run home and just be safe and sound and okay. I went to one other door and met up with other police officers. They gave me an air pack with a mask, and my entire day was spent carrying people outside of the building, going up floors, up to 80, 100 floors, entire day, carrying people that couldn't walk downstairs, carrying people that were injured out of the building. And that's what my entire day consisted of, and I was still afraid. I was afraid all day. The slightest little noise would make me afraid. But I'm happy to say that I was able to perform my duties and do what people expected from me being a police officer. So that's my day of 1993 bombing. And now I will open up to questions.
On a scale from 1 to 10, how scared were you when you went through this?
How scared?
On a scale from 1 to 10.
Oh, on a scale from 1 to 10?
Yeah.
20. No. At least a 10. At least a 10.
Was this the first time you had to do this?
Because I knew that I could hear my own heart. I could hear my own heart beating. And that's how I knew that this is the most scared I've ever been in my life. And, at the age that I was then, I had been afraid of other things and other things that I had done. I was in the military. I had been afraid. But I had never been that afraid. And that's how I know that was a 10, because I could hear my own heart. And for most of the day, I could hear that.
I was born in 2001, so.
Yeah, and that's 2001. Right.
You were not that.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
First off, thank you for your service and everything you do.
Thank you.
So it's very, very interesting to hear about like the perspective from the inside. My mother was my mother's from New York, and she was on the subway right near the Trade Center when the bomb went off. So it's very interesting to hear about from what it was like from the inside.
And your mother was fine?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
She was fine. Very
Okay.
Yeah, everyone was fine.
Good. Great. Yes.
Do you still feel like horrified? Do you still feel horrified after you went through that whole experience in the Army?
Do I still feel horrified?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I still feel afraid. Anyone that, and this is how I feel, right? Everyone should have some fear of some things. You should always be able to face your fear of some things, but don't deny that you have fear. You should have fear because fear makes you think, right? So when I was in that situation, you know, if I would have ran the wrong way or if I would have tried to escape and went the wrong direction, I had all of those people with me, they would have all not made it out of the building, okay? Because I was back in the building, and I will tell you that if I had decided to go right instead of left, we would have all fallen in a giant crater that was ground zero at that time. So this is when I say with your fear, you have to stop and take a moment and breathe so that you can figure out what you need to do. Okay? Yeah, what?
I didn't really know that much about what happened in '93 at the World Trade Center till like just now. I knew there was an attack there, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since we like talk about 9/11 so much, it
Right.
feels like '93 was kind of forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I talk about it, because it is something that I think that all Americans should remember, and everyone should remember, and the people that unfortunately didn't make it, I think that that's how we honor them also, because they were just people just like in 2001 that just went to work. You know, these are people that went to work, went to do their job, and unfortunately didn't make it home. Yes.
Yeah, I had a few things to say. Like, firstly, like when you think about like how you got everybody out of that building, like, and you were just like, this was your first year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think most people in the police force would have just ran and not done anything because they would have been scared about it. And look, I don't know, but you know, that's kind of what my gut instinct is telling me.
Okay.
The fact that you did that, that's, to say the least, very awesome.
Oh, thank you.
And also, my dad, on the 9/11 attacks, he was actually a couple miles away from it. Because he works at a law firm in New York City. Because we live there, and my dad's a lawyer. And he saw, like, the smoke from the buildings, and he had to leave work. And he was like asking if everybody was okay, like down like at his level, because he couldn't do anything.
Right.
Right? Like he had to just get home.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
you know, my mom, she was scared because she didn't know. Like they just got married a couple months before that, and she didn't know if he was gonna make it out alive.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the only other thing I really had to say was when you were in that building, like how did you get those people, like besides for like going in that direction, like how did you like, I don't know, tunnel vision your way to like get out of there?
Because I had to take a moment and breathe so that I could think. Because at that time I was just basically just going on pure adrenaline because I wanted to get me out also. But once I was in the middle of all of that panic and in the middle of everyone else really just not being able to control their fear, I had to take a moment and take a breath, you know, and that I believe is my faith, because I did all of it, you know, once I decided to do that, it was like clarity to me, and it was silent for a few seconds. Even though all around me there was yelling and noise and cars crashing and everything else, breathe. And if you can do that, then you can think yourself out of situations. And I'm a firm believer of that.
I mean, I would not have been able to do that as well as you did. That's all I really wanted to say.
Well, thank you.
That's incredible.
Thank you. Yes.
So I know you said this was basically your first year out of the academy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, did you feel like any of your prior training helped you on that day? And if so, how did it help you?
I believe that the most training that helped me that day was that I had been told, being in the academy, that, you know, people would look to me for help, that I'd be the person they look to for help. And also, when you have on the uniform, people think you know what you're doing, so they're gonna look for guidance from you. And that resonated in my head. So even though inside I was just all janky and falling apart, outside I looked great. I looked like the epitome of a police officer that knew what they were doing, that could save the world, you know, but not inside, you know, it's like that. I always talk about this like being like on the cartoon. You know, in the cartoon, you'll have the cartoon character stands there and everything just looks really like put together, and then they'll show you like inside and you see bombs going off and smoke and everything else. That was really how I felt. You know, like I have to keep everyone else calm, because if I wasn't calm, how was people gonna follow me? No one's gonna listen to you if you're yelling at them and if you're panicking, and they're not gonna listen to you. They're not gonna feel very confident going with you somewhere, right? So all of that had to come into play. Yes.
Hi, Chief Brady. It's really nice to meet you. I'm Claire Gillis. I teach history here, and I'm also a Brattleboro resident, so I was really happy to see you appointed to the post.
Thank you.
And yeah, this story that you told is so riveting. And the moment of being able to change from internal panic to accessing that muscle memory, you know, of kind of how do you drive into the garage. There's something about it that, in that, you know, you said you remembered your training, it kind of gives you back a sense of agency in that moment to be able to like think your way through it. When there's a traumatic instance like this, it's like nobody knows what to do, and nobody, you know, obviously nobody knew it was coming. Everybody's kind of freaked out.
Yeah.
And that ability to pivot is really interesting. If I can ask a question about a somewhat different topic, Brattleboro has just been approved for resettling Afghan refugees, and you know, a lot of people in the community are super excited about it. You know, really welcoming. There's definitely been incidents in Brattleboro with racist graffiti, with, you know, I'm wondering if there's any particular concern that you folks have in the police station about things that might happen, if it's something you talk about. I'm wondering if you also have experienced anything yourself in the time that you've been here in terms of racist incidents, basically.
Well, okay, let me answer the first part of your question. We, you know, I have visions for my police department. I have visions for Brattleboro Police Department, okay? And one of them being that we will be welcomed into the community, right? And welcomed into the town of Brattleboro, and people will feel that faith to be able to come seek us if they need help. It's very, very major in my plans and my mind. And I think that that's happening with me going out into the community and interacting with people and having people come talk to me and tell me their experiences in the past and talk about that, you know. So I think that's one of the things that, you know, I've met with the organizations that are bringing the refugees in, and, you know, and I plan to go and meet with them and speak with them too, because I want them to feel safe when they come to Brattleboro, and I want them to feel that we are a resource for them should they need us. Experiences with police, exactly. And any kind of, even where they come from, even military. So any kind of uniform service is going to make them not be trusting and accepting right away. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to build those bridges with them, and I think by us really working with the individuals that are bringing them in and the families that they'll be staying with, I'm hoping that we'll be able to build those bridges. As far as me, I have to say that on the most part, I've been very welcomed being here. And on the other part, I've had a couple of incidences where I wasn't welcomed. You know, those have been, well, one of them has been made public, you know, and that was one individual. We're sure that that was an individual that had an issue, you know, and me coming and speaking to that person is never going to change that issue. That's just the way they feel. And I'm fine with that, you know, because I'd rather you show me who you are. Because if you show me who you are, then at least I can see you coming. So it's all, you know, so that has been a thing. I do have a couple of other individuals that have chosen to let me know how unhappy they are with my mere existence. Okay, I've been through that before. I haven't been in this business for almost 30 years, as I've said, and not experienced that. So, yes, it's here. You know, everyone should be aware of that. Everyone is not happy for me to be here, and they've made it known. You know, I just don't publicize it because I don't think they're worth my time or my effort to do so. Okay, so did I answer the question? Okay, so you.
I have two, if that's all right. First off, when in 1993 did this incident happen?
February 26th.
I see. And also, since, as you mentioned, it was pretty much your first big thing as a cop, how do you think it influenced the rest of your career?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. That's a good question. It has absolutely influenced me as a person, and then let me know that I could do this job, because after that happened, for quite a while, I was kind of rethinking my career choice, you know. So it changed me as a person, but I think it actually helped me to be better at what I did. It absolutely showed me my fortitude. It showed me I can do this job, you know, and I needed it throughout my career, especially with me moving up through the ranks of a, not even just the profession itself, which is male-dominated profession, right? But also within the agency that I was in, male-dominated agency, you know, no women reaching the rank of chief until me, no black women reaching the rank of chief till me. So it gave me the fortitude to continue along the way for all of the other stepping stones I had to do. Just being in a terrorist attack, which that's something you would never think that you would say, you know, but saying that it made me, I believe, a better person, so it made me therefore a better police officer. I think I would have to say absolutely that influenced me a lot. And unfortunately, I thought that was the worst thing I would see, and unfortunately, I was wrong, you know. But I think that was my building block to become the kind of police officer and the kind of person that I was. Yes.
What made you want, because you said you started off in New York City, and so why to Vermont? Like, do you have family there, or like what really brought you?
Like, why Vermont?
Huh?
Why Vermont?
Yeah, like usually unless you obviously lived there before, like have family there, people don't really, or like unless you have a job, like maybe you just decided to apply for the job at the Brattleboro, Vermont.
That was basically it right there. Yeah, because I already had done my career and I wasn't just in New York. I was actually in a bi-state agency, so I was in New York and New Jersey. So I did my time there, and I retired. You know, I was living in Virginia, relaxing. Well, not really, because I never really relaxed, because I like what I do, and I think it's important that there are people like me doing this job. I think that's very important, because if you have to be one that will stand for change, and the things that I witnessed over those 2.5 years that I was retired, you know, and I was asked to come and speak to different groups. I've spoken everywhere from elementary schools to police academies and everything in between about what's happened with police brutality and what's happened with the movements that have been going on. So I never really retired, even though I left that position. I was a chief there, but I was a chief there. So when this opportunity came up, and me having vacationed in the area before, I just felt it was an exciting opportunity for me. And I felt it was an opportunity also to try to bring back some kind of rhythm and some kind of togetherness between the community and that particular police department, you know. And by no means do I think that I could fix all problems and police issues and everything like that, but I do believe that in Brattleboro, I have a chance to mend a lot of fences, and I've already started doing that. I have people come speak to me that have told me that they would have never sat down with a police officer and had any conversations. So if I don't get anything else accomplished, I feel good in being able to do that, and I've done that in 4 months. So, yes.
Hi, I have a question. I'm a professor here too, Tamerson. Looking at like psychology today and other studies, we're all neurodiverse here, right? Neurodiverse people have historically been more negatively affected by police than other populations, right? More neurodiverse people have been killed by police, have been incarcerated, they're currently incarcerated. So what kind of ideas do you have? Sometimes neurodiversity isn't always apparent, right? When a police is working with someone, or even having mental health issues, right? Isn't always incredibly obvious at the time. What kind of methods or training or ideas do you have, to help recognize and protect our neurodiverse populations in this community?
Well, I'll tell you some of the things that we're doing right now. What I'll say first is my lived experience, and I know people say that, they say lived experience, but I can absolutely tell you that my lived experience makes a difference, because I have been on the other side of this fence, so I've had negative interactions with police. So I think knowing that when I am talking to officers, or I am talking to my group of people before they go out into the public, they have to follow certain basic rules and have certain thoughts. And most of it comes from really, you have to treat everyone with the same level of respect. You have to treat everyone with the same level of being able to talk, and also that your actions are not above what the situation is going on. So that's basic stuff. That's a basic thing that should be already in everyone's minds, but it hasn't been. So you're absolutely correct in saying that, that neurodiverse populations have had more of these situational things, but I have more situational awareness than a lot of people might have. And that is what I utilize. So I have the hard conversations with my people. I talk with my officers every day, because some of them might not even realize what they're doing or saying and how it's affecting a person, And the other thing that we're doing is I've brought in people that I've worked with in the past to train. So people that I respect, and that is not the same old textbook training, because sometimes you have to do things a little differently to get the reaction that you want. So those are the things that I'm trying, and also to work with the other agencies within the town to have less of us having to come as the police to deal with some of these issues. So I know that that's something that's been talked about, but we're actually meeting with other entities and other agencies to bring it to fruition. I don't know how long it's going to take us, but we're talking. And it's not just police, fire, it's mental health professionals, it's medical professionals, stuff like that. And that's where everything really starts. You got to start somewhere. So that's where we've been able to start in the 4 months that I've been here. Let me see somebody. Oh, back.
Yeah. So just a couple things. I know how before this was a little while ago, but you were saying, like, how people in the in the police don't accept you and things like that. And you it's not worth your time to say make it public, right? I get that, but do you ever say to them hey, that's not cool, that isn't right? Kind of say
Oh, all the time. All the time. If I'm nothing else, it is not outspoken. Okay. No, I absolutely speak on that. I've addressed that with the individuals, because there's nothing worse for a bully than to face up to them and show them how their behavior is not right. You know, most bullies do not want to know that, and they don't want to hear it, but most people don't face up to them and say anything, and that's why they continue to be bullies. Okay? And in the back.
Alright, so this is a kind of two questions. The first one is going back to the story about the bombing.
Yeah.
Did the kids that you were leading out of the building, were they okay?
Yes. I like to think that they are model citizens throughout the rest of their life, never, ever, ever in trouble, never had to deal with the police, and all stayed in school. That's why I like to think that for them.
And the second part was having lived through a previous terror attack in the same location, what was your thoughts when you heard of the ongoing terrorist attack on September 11th, when you first started to respond?
Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell you, September 11th is I was home when the first plane hit, and from '93, you know, we had other things that had happened leading up before September 11th. But during September 11th, I actually was supposed to work the night shift, so I was actually home during the daytime, and my mother called me to tell me a plane hit the building. And of course, like everyone else, we thought it was a small plane and it was just an accident. And, you know, so I said, okay, all right, I'll start to get ready. They're going to have us come in and save people. And my mother kept saying, no, you stay home. You're not doing this again. You stay home, okay? And I was like, I can't stay home because I have to go do my job. And as I was getting ready, the second plane hit. And then I realized what was going on. And then I had to think, I don't really want to go. I want to not go more than anything in the world. But I was on the phone with other officers, my partner, you know, and it's so amazing to me too. And I don't say it just for myself, but I say it to people that do this kind of thing because they were ready to go. And then you're like, well, if everyone else is going, I can't just stay home and not go. I wear the same uniform they wear, you know? And really, truly, you don't know. You really do not know what to expect. Regardless of what's happened in the past and what you've been through, there was nothing to prepare me for what happened on September 11th, nothing. Even being in the building when the bomb went off, there was nothing to prepare me for what I experienced on the day of September 11th.
So it was a whole different other, it was a whole little different other experience from this, like it was a completely different episode?
Totally different. Totally different. Totally different and totally more terrifying. You know, and I was terrified. And I will always say that I was terrified in '93. I would never not say that. September 11th was completely and totally 10 times more terrifying because those same buildings that I came out of fell. And that made it even more terrifying.
Were you in charge of helping people on that day? What were you put in charge of?
What was I put? Well, I wasn't put in charge of anything. During September 11th, I was still an officer.
Oh.
I was just an officer with a little bit more time on, but I was still an officer, so I still did the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Helping people get away. I saw another hand. Oh.
So as a police officer, what are your opinions on like using more like de-escalation techniques in general and more like because I know there's been a lot of like issues with like violent force and stuff like that, like and associated with like African Americans and just like, you know, like what do you think about like police officers like training martial arts or maybe like using more tasers or pepper spray or something like that instead of always reaching for their gun?
I absolutely believe in that. So I believe in de-escalation. I talk about it all the time. But more than just talking about it, we're training on it. And so, you know, and I try to find different de-escalation tactics and techniques and tools. And this is what I tell people, right? To be a police officer right now in this time is a very hard thing, okay? but no one hates a bad police officer more than a good police officer. And that is absolutely true. All right, this is one of the reasons I came out of retirement, because if you don't have people that will stand up and say, let's do this differently, let's gain back the trust of the people that we're supposed to be serving. If you don't have people that are willing to do that, then we're going to be lost. We're going to lose all connection at all, because it's like everything's been hijacked so bad, and the whole police officer theory has been just taken over and abused. But if you don't have people that stand up and say, what can we do differently, we will never be able to rebuild it, and police, law enforcement in general, will never gain back the trust of the people that we're supposed to be serving. All right? And you, okay.
Okay. Yes. So I'm actually curious. Would you ever, after seeing 2 incidents happen at the World Trade Center, would you actually be willing to ever visit the one World Trade Center after it seemed like a cursed area to you? Like, I'm actually kind of wondering about that. Would it give you some past trauma to actually go to the one World Trade Center?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll tell you. Coming up as I did through the ranks of my department, I actually spent a lot of time at the Trade Center. And actually, before they just built these new buildings, I was actually assigned there when it was a hole. And the reason that I was sent there is because of my experiences. And my bosses at the time felt that I should go there because I understood there and I could boost the morale of the officers that were chosen to stay there. You know, because at that point we looked at it as a hollow place, a hollow ground, you know. And so I was actually asked to go there. So I was there as a sergeant, as a lieutenant. I worked with all the families that lost loved ones. I worked with the 9/11 families there and was a part of the plan to keep the families in everyone's minds. I was on the planning board for the museum, for the tribute center, which was all from 9/11 families. So I actually had been there. It's like I honestly did not leave there until I actually retired. But I was involved in a lot that was going on there, and I'm still called there to speak there quite often. You know, so yeah.
Just one more question, please.
Okay, one more.
Last one.
Last question. Oh. Go. Yeah.
So you talked about your lived experience and the way that has influenced you and your role now. And I just wonder if you could talk about that just a little bit more, you know, your lived experience as a woman, as a Black woman, any other lived experience you want to share, but how those identities impact your role now here in Brattleboro, Vermont.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. So, you know, and that's the other thing too, because I believe I sit down with a lot of people that speak up on things that are going on today. And I will sit down and have a conversation with anyone. I've sat down and I've talked with activists. I've been fortunate enough to sit down and talk with George Floyd's brother. I've been able to talk with people that actually have had horrible police experiences, but if they're willing to come to the table and speak with me, I will speak, even if you don't, and you know, I don't expect anyone to agree. I just think that we have to all just always have a respectful conversation. We just have to show respect across the table. But being a lived experience thing, okay, I will tell you that even growing up, where I grew up in Brooklyn, okay, my mom was one of the biggest activists I knew, and she didn't even know it, just because she was a person that spoke up when she saw something not correct. So if you go from that time of my childhood, I've seen my mother brutalized by police. I've seen my mother beaten and dragged down the street, you know? And I was an angry kid until a police officer talked to me. And it always resonated to me. What he said was, if you want to see changes in things, you have to be brave enough to come make those changes. So I kept that in mind. And even going up in the city and doing my jobs, I've been racially profiled, okay? I've been racially profiled when I was a police officer. I've been racially profiled by police in a town because I was driving through the town and I didn't look like anyone else in the town. And I had my friend who was white sitting next to me in the car. I always talk about that because I'm happy that happened, because I told her what was going to happen and she didn't believe it, because she was like, you're being paranoid. So when it happened, to this day, she will tell everyone. And she's a police officer. So I like that even more, because she can tell her police officers, because she's a supervisor, and she tells her police officers about this incident, because that gives them the thought and the foresight to say, maybe I don't want to do that, you know? So that's when I talk about lived experiences, because not only growing up as a kid, I still chose this profession. Even being, my friends didn't choose this profession. They weren't my friends anymore because I chose this profession. Staying with this profession, I faced racism just coming up through the ranks, because it was something that wasn't supposed to be for me. And I think I also just, when I talk about knowing my resiliency, I think that's what I talk about too, being able to continue in the profession, continue to move up the ranks, retire, and still want to come to Vermont. And, that first question from everyone, Vermont, like, what are you doing in Vermont? So here I am, I'm in Vermont. And I think that all of that lived experience can be something that I can share. And I think it can give a different insight, not only to you people in the community, but also to people in Vermont in law enforcement. Because I've sat down with a lot of people in law enforcement now too, that are willing to listen and willing to try to change things and do things in a better way. And maybe, like I said, be reaccepted into this society.
Thank
Okay.
you. Well, let's thank Chief Hardy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone.
Yep.